intercept.
Tonight, it's the penultimate round for RGR and its chase for the Kailu Glass Cup. Tonight, we look to see if the championship gets closed up or if Lance Ripka is able to get himself some breathing room with a couple weeks to go in the championship. I'd like to welcome you once more to tonight's action here on Grid Vision. I'm Justin Prince alongside Brian Britt with Austin Darbyshire producing as we get set to go racing under the lights at Kansas Speedway, Brian.
Yeah, definitely an exciting one we have here tonight. This mile and a half, always known to put on some great races, more of a top-centric style racetrack. Of course, looking at the track temp right now, quite cool on the track surface right now. I do believe down in the 60s, 69 if I'm not mistaken. So very, very cool. Should provide quite a bit of grip, but I'll tell you what, it's really going to be interesting to see who is going to be a championship contender in next week's race. And I think tonight's race could determine that, Justin.
Absolutely, especially when you look at the point standings breakdown entering tonight. Keep in mind, the max amount of points you can pick up in a race, about 51 points. Depending on how many laps you lead, depending on if you start on the pole, and of course, 5 additional points on top of the 43 as the race winner. Ripka enters tonight up 32 points. Mathematically wise, it can go either direction even with how tonight plays out. However, for Thomas Wolfe to have a shot, he needs a lot to happen after what happened last week at North Wilkesboro, seeing him go from within 20 points to being that 32 back. The rest of the spots are out of mathematical range, likely unless they have a big charge like Spear in the rat lifts this evening. With that being said, let's take a look at what's coming up here on Grid Vision as we get ready for tonight's festivities in RGR competition. A reminder that Grid Vision Super Speedways heads to Daytona next week, and that starts, in fact, on the Monday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to tune in here on Grid Vision. Then it's Iowa Speedway for champion action at 9 p.m. Tuesday. The SSRL Truck Series goes to Chicagoland Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's RGR at Phoenix to determine the champion and clinch the title officially 9 p.m. on Sunday. And remember, time slots are opening for 2023. With that being said, though, tonight could be an interesting one. 167 laps, a very long race, and with the fuel limit being 70%, that likely means a lot of pit stops.
No, I actually talked about that a little bit before the broadcast began, and 35 laps is about the estimated fuel. You know, some guys said they were able to make it to 37. That is, of course, with you being very, very, very conservative. If you split that 167 laps by that 35 laps of gas, you are going to probably make 5 pit stops here tonight. And guess what? You only have 5 sets of tires down there in the pits. So in a lot of ways, this is going to be a fuel and tire resource management game here tonight. If we see a caution that just kind of is out of the blue, that could shake up everything, and decisions are going to be important.
So just a final few moments before we start things off for tonight's action. Of note, final warm-ups. Top leader was Adam Recker at a 30.8. Final practice led by Buckshot Ripka with a 30.5 over Eric Beller, Greg Ratliff, Adam Recker, along with boss man Todd Gilly amongst the top 5 in practice sessions. So in turn, we're just about set to go towards the grid here. What do we expect for the racing itself tonight?
Well, I think racing itself, of course, as I mentioned, I think it's going to be for the most part at the top of the track. I think that's going to be where you're going to want to go in order to defend runs. Now, in order to save tire, I think the bottom is probably going to be the place to go. So I think the smart money is on guys running lower in order to save tire, of course. So we'll have to see. I mean, it's going to be some massive fall off. Curious to see what is going to unfold here tonight, though.
Drivers now making their way towards the starting grid for tonight's festivities. Here on Grid Vision, let's take a look at your starting lineup. It's Buckshot Ripka on the pole tonight. That's an extra bonus point, and that is a big one for Ripka. For him, is his first pole since Iowa, and the 4th in the past few weeks. In turn, Eric Beller starts second alongside Thomas Wolf and Jason Spear. Then it's Bernard Person, who's in 5th alongside Tony Ratliff. Adam Recker starts in 7th alongside William Gay in the 44. Greg Ratliff starts alongside the boss man. That is Don Gilly rounding out your top 10 tonight.
11th place, of course, Michael Walker. Very impressive run last week at North Wilkesboro. 12th place, Jamie Bray. 13th, Eric Whiting. 14th, Brian Tiffany. 15th, Daniel Blau. 16th, of course, George Dibble. Going to be rounding out this 16-car field. Definitely an exciting one. I'm even though you talk about Buckshot getting that pole, that's going to be a point for him. But Wolf has got a really good starting spot as well. I think he's always good on the long runs. I expect a lot of strength from this 91 here.
Those bonus points, something we'll have to keep an eye on throughout the festivities, to say the very least, with this one. Of note, second start of the season for Jamie Bray since Darlington, where Dean Hefton finished 18th. Outside of that, majority of your regulars back to contention tonight. Who do you think's got the best shot to win this race tonight?
That's a tough one. I think there's 3 contenders really on who can win this race. I think that's Lance Ripka, Eric Beller, and Thomas Wolf. I think Beller, of course, earlier in this season showed significant long run pace, so he is definitely a factor here. I didn't see him for a few races, but I think he's got a shot. I think he's going to want to come back and possibly win some glory here, win a trophy.
It's the final mile and a half on the schedule. All scattered amongst a mix of 3 short tracks in the final 4 races. Who gets it done tonight here from Kansas? Let's find out. The penultimate race of RGR season for the chase for the Kyle Class Cup. The Command National cars are underway from Kansas.
And the green flag is out. Of course, Lance Ripka up through the gears. Eric Beller trying to match him step for step. It looks like Ripka is going to clear into turn number 1. Beller trying to see if he can get the run at the tippity top of the racetrack, as well as Jason Spear. Now, that's actually, I do believe, Jason Spear, up on the top line. Usually we see him on the long run really have good runs, but it looks like he is engaged his short run speed as he catches up to Beller.
Wolf electing to keep it around the bottom of the racetrack, trying to paint the wine. Pushes up a little bit, all while Ripka leads the first lap, 167 up on the board. You talked about expecting the top line to be very big tonight. Wasn't sure if we were going to see drivers up on the top immediately like this, but here we are.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys are going to use that top line, but I think eventually it's going to probably be more of a reward to use the bottom line, especially on the longer runs. I mean, usually in all the NASCAR cars at tracks like this, the top line is faster, but you're going to save your resources a lot better on that bottom, just considering how the current iRacing tire model is. But it looks like Wolf has now fallen back to 4th place. Jason Spear on the hunt, possibly to get by Beller, but it looks like Beller has got a 2nd place secured. Buckshot Ripka with the clean air is sailing away. Fastest lap on the racetrack. He is about a 10th and a half faster than everybody else.
Here's a look from on board with Ripka. You can just see how little movement you have to have with the steering wheel, but also just how much you have to listen towards that throttle, because if you go too hard, you go in the wall. If you turn it too much, you burn up those tires. It's a fine balance to run that top here tonight.
Yeah, it really is. Of course, this place is known for this top line. This is kind of traditionally the line you run at this racetrack. Has been like that for years. As Thomas Wolf under fire from Greg Ratliff, the 5, of course, very, very fast last week at North Wilkesboro. It looks like he's got a heck of a run up top. Things not looking good for the 91 on lap 4, coming to 5.
Yeah, and that's the major thing we're already seeing. You better have found a hole on that top line. It could be very difficult in theory to make a pass tonight. You see some of the drivers towards the back using the bottom, such as Gilly. But for the most part, if you can't find a spot up top, it's going to be hard to leapfrog cars when, well, you can't go higher than the wall.
I'll tell you who's starting to really move forward. Started in 16th place, George Dibble in that 94 machine. He has been really cruising his way through the field. He's up to 11th right now, starting to challenge Brian Tiffany. I'm not sure if the 94 is burning his stuff up, but he is fast right now.
He's electing to use the bottom this time to make a move on Tiffany, in fact. Not able to close up the move, in fact. And was about to say at the same time here, as a driver yourself, what is that balance like? Trying to figure out, okay, should I be pushing? Can I make a pass here? Can I even get this to work? Or should I just ride along and wait for an opportunity on the top?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a risk versus reward type thing. I mean, it's a huge decision. I mean, you know, guys like Thomas Wolf, everything is riding on his performance right now. And if he doesn't make the right decision, he is going to pay the price. He's not going to be able to go after that championship trophy next week. And he is at the moment, I bet alarm bells are sounding in his mind right now. So if I was him, I would just go with the flow right now, just considering to kind of cut the bleeding off. I mean, of course, I said earlier that bottom line was going to be the place to save tire. It very well could be, but I just don't know that it's going to pay off considering he's losing so many positions. It's going to be so hard to actually make passes later here at this track.
Already, Dibble is falling back. Just like that, you talked about him moving forward. Couldn't make the pass on Tiffany, and already has lost a couple spots. Now he's under attack by Blau. And Blau now can't make the pass as Dibble closes up the gap. That's how quick we can change here. All while Wolf is very committed, it looks like, to running the bottom. You see the differences in lines throughout this pack already.
And we're going to find out soon enough if this is actually going to work for him. Because eventually we're going to see if Wolf kind of starts to surge ahead with better lap times. Now, we saw, just like we were just talking about, Blau and Dibble battling each other. It is extremely hard to pass in this race car and at this track. So I just don't know if Wolf can do it. But if anybody can, the 91 Barbie machine can do it.
It's going to take at least a few more laps to see how that pays dividends with how things are playing out. You see how the mid-pack's coming up. Already some near crunches in this grouping, and this is causing some stack-ups. Gilly now under attack. Dibble has the better run, and Daniel Blau nearly took it 3 wide.
He thought about it, but I think he thought better. I mean, that would have I think that would have ended up in a crash. It looked like it almost did, as a very awesome camera work from our producer, Austin Darbyshire, really bringing all the action right to our viewers. As you can see, of course, the 19 of Todd Gilly looking very fast right here tonight. Was able to really be methodical in his way around the 94. I heard he's been actually having some technical difficulties with his hardware, and it looks like he's got that all solved as Blau and the 94 go to battle.
Keep an eye on that if that flares up this evening, as Blau can't make the pass yet. Now he does. Dibble hits the wall. Dibble burns up the front tire and slams the entire right side of the car into the fence. And that fender is crumpled.
Yeah, I don't know. It might even be more than that. The way that car was reacting after it hit the wall, it seemed like he might have broke a toe link. But if he had broken a toe link, he would not have made it through 1 and 2 like he just did. So I think I'd maybe be interesting to see what that looked like through the cockpit of Dibble there.
Either way, he's burned up the right front tire and then some.
Oh, yeah.
Already 7 seconds behind the race leader. And with that aero damage, that's going to put him off the pace the rest of this run, if not the rest of the race, unless he can get a caution to pit. So let's take a look at that requested view. This is from Gilly behind. And
looks fine.
Well, this is the previous lap. Now we start the lap.
It looks like he's doing a pretty good job. I mean, holding a pretty steady wheel. Of course, running the top line. Right there. Look at those wiggles. What is that?
That's a lot of movement, first of all. But second, That's a lot of movement in the first place. Entering the corner, it's almost looking like micro slides.
Yeah.
And
right
then
here, something goes wrong. He just hits the wall, and look at this. What is he doing? That's why I was wondering, like, it looked like he broke his toe when he hit the wall, but he didn't. That was just from wheel movement.
Had to save the car. But keep in mind, smooth movements, even with the bumps, is critical, but even more so. You may think, oh, you turn the wheel more, it's going to turn more. No.
Definitely not. That is that's most of the time that's the opposite of what happens. It turns less because that tire is not gripping. Because of course there is a certain thing that's called a contact patch, and you are making that less when you turn that wheel more.
So in turn, we take a look at how things have steadied out here. Tony Ratliff, for example, is steadied out into the 6th position. And so far, he's right now nearly a second behind this battle. Right now, Bernard Person, Greg Ratliff, they're lined up astern. Last time by, Person passed by the 5.
Yeah, this is definitely interesting to see. Eric Beller's starting to catch up to Buckshot Ripka. Beller, I talked about him before, known for his long run speed. Of course, the only bad thing is Beller always seems to make a mistake when it comes to pit road. We've seen it multiple times with this 4 machine. I know he's probably come back, missed a few races, was probably trying to get his mind right. Oh, a little contact with the wall, though, should be okay. But I'm sure he's really wanting to get some sense of redemption here tonight, Justin.
Yeah, he's had some good races, especially Charlotte comes to mind, where he picked up the victory. Could have had a couple more his way, but then, of course, missed a few races. That put him behind the championship, put him back to 10th in the title fight. Right now, he's holding on to the 2nd position, 7/10 behind Ripka.
One thing that's really kind of interesting to me, I kind of was talking about Thomas Wolf, and I hate to always talk about him, but I mean, he is always on the headline. So I mean, kind of got to talk about him. He's 2nd in the points. He's trying to go after a championship title. Race laps right now for him is 32.6. He is one of the slowest cars on the track. Especially, I think he is the slowest in the top 10 right now. And it's just unfortunate to see. It looks like that bottom line really was not working. I think I may have been wrong, and I think he might have been wrong as well.
Yeah, and even then, he's now having to deal with dirty air from Wrecker and from several more. That difference of running the bottom compared to that speed on the top short to mid-run just doesn't seem like by the time pit stops are coming up, unless he gains significantly, it's going to gain him 5 seconds.
Yeah, no, he's going to need some sort of caution or something to come out to kind of shuffle the deck back up to give him a chance as we see some heavy battling further back. I do believe that is Daniel Blau fighting with, I do believe, Ryan Tiffany, as a whole host of cars. Michael Walker, Eric Whiting. This is the fight, of course, for 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers getting shuffled behind, but Tiffany continues to run top and lets everybody go bottom. Whiting and Walker the 2nd, zip on by. And that's when you say, let's send it. May as well gain a spot. It's free real estate.
And, of course, looking back at the front of the field, you see Buckshot and Ripka still out front. He's led every lap thus far. We're on lap 21 coming to 22. And, of course, Jason Spears been showing some really good long-run pace. I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing from the 83. I tell you, he has just been doing a fantastic job this season, really coming into his own as a very good driver. I mean, last time by, or the time before that, I should say, he was one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. As we see Ripka into the wall, this is not good. And Eric Beller catches up quickly.
He went a half a lane higher, and this time it gives him the disadvantage. Up in the lead goes Eric Beller. Ripka scraping the wall, adds some damage. For the most part, Ripka's been going about a lane down to start the corner to make sure he didn't drift up like you were seeing he did. He didn't do that the past time by for the first time.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. I'm wondering if maybe he was focusing on something else or just didn't hit his mark correctly. or something like that. But definitely an unfortunate thing. Eric Beller now has his lion's share of the clean air. As we take a look back at this, of course, very high entry into the corner. And looks fine right here. And I think where we're going to see him touch the wall is going to be in the next set of corners, 3 and 4. As he, of course, drives his way down the backstretch and enters 3 and 4. He actually went a little bit lower right there, so that's kind of curious. So maybe I think we might be in 1 and 2.
It is 1 and 2, so watch this entry line. A little bit higher than normal, and he pays the price. And I don't think that's the right lap.
We'll find it eventually. But yeah, no, I mean, but clearly he dragged against the wall. It wasn't a hard hit, but it was enough to really take a lot of the momentum out of that 52 machine. Now he's got to really scramble to get back up there. Now this is a good thing for a driver like Thomas Wolf. Of course, Wolf needs Buckshot Ripka to have a bad night, and that's the first domino that could lead to that bad night. Is speaking of Wolf, he's actually in a battle for 7th place at the moment, as there is virtually no damage on the 52.
Yeah, I think he avoided any major damage, if any. So for Thomas Wolf, he is still 5 seconds nearly behind the race leader regardless. He's only having an average night. This is one of his not so greatest starts in a while, in a mile and a half, I'll be honest here. He won Kentucky. He won at Homestead, Miami, a part of that 4 wins in a row stretch. And he did well at other tracks before that where he had to start from the back. Tonight, it's again not been there. The bottom is not gaining him the time that he lost on the short run.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely curious for sure. He's not the fastest car, and it just doesn't look like the same car we saw at those tracks you were just mentioning, where he had such a dominant stretch. I mean, you can, in real NASCAR, you see that as well. You see a driver that has just a dominant stretch of races. I think about Chris Buescher winning 2 in a row, Kevin Harvick last year winning 2 in a row. I mean, you can win multiple races in a row, but that's not what wins you a championship. And that's what Wolf needs. He needs a championship type of run here tonight.
Meanwhile, Bernard Person, he's having one of his better races on the long run. He's had some struggles on long run all season. And while he's getting reeled in slowly by the 6th machine, usually we see him fall off a cliff. This time, outside of having to baby the right front up at the top here, he's been doing well. And now he's trying to get over aggressive as you hear some wall scrapes around the track.
Yeah, he's doing fantastic. I mean, he's one of the actually better cars on the track long run right now as we're closing in quickly on the fuel window end. I do believe 35, like I said, 37 probably at the longest. I think we're going to see green flag stops here soon. But I'll tell you, Parsons, I really feel like he had a chance to win that race last week at North Wilkesboro. I think that, of course, I think he parked it early. Something had went wrong. I can't recall, but I know that he was one of the fastest cars at that track. And I think that he's really stepped up his game quite a bit.
Don't think we got the answer to what happened either in that circumstance. But right now, let's hold on to the line. Now, keep in mind, mentioned hearing the sound of some scrapes. The reason for that was the 5. Greg Ratliff, he's starting to fall back towards these drivers by a few 100ths. He's also been riding mightily close to that wall. He does have some fender scrapes.
I'll tell you, Tony's been doing really good here, too. The 6, of course, I do believe that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's Greg's brother, possibly. Very fast, the 6 machine, looking really good here as he's right on the back bumper of Bernard Person. Of course, Greg Ratliff struggling, waiting to get this pit stop. A lot of these guys are probably just aching to get some fresh tires. I want to, point to the lap times right now. Eric Beller, 32.655 last time by. Fastest lap from him was a 31.2. So we're already seeing almost a second and a half of fall off. Sometimes more. It just depends. Some drivers are hitting 32.9s. Here comes Bernard Person to pit road. This is really early. 32 laps in. I'm not sure if this maybe it's scheduled. I'm not sure.
Well, we are just around the window. So we have our first of pit stops being made here tonight in this 167 lap for Beller. Still holding on to the lead by about 0.3 of a second. It is getting chipped down, though, because last time by, nearly 0.2 gained by Ripka into the lane this time. Jason Spear, he was running in the top 3.
Well, looking at my math here, if you all pit at 32, if everybody pits at 32, that makes it to where you have to make, I do believe, more than 5 stops. I don't think you can make it on that. I think you have to go to 35, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, is that factoring if you run the bottom the whole race or if you run the top?
I don't know. I mean, it's just that might be exactly why Wolf's running so low. This could be a fuel mileage thing. You do remember that Wolf was the only one that had that strategy one race. I can't recall which race it was, but he was the only one that successfully pulled off to cut a stop out. Or actually, him and Jason Spear, I do believe in it. They were able to successfully do it, but Wolf was able to do it better than anybody else. So maybe that's the whole game here. Maybe we're not realizing that there's some stuff at play here that we don't realize.
It's going to take a long while for it to get fully into context of, nope, Michael Walker is in this time by. Get done racing machine in. Here comes the lost wrench machine of Greg Ratliff. He brings a couple more with him. Adam Recker and Jamie Bray quietly has moved himself up to the field to 10th spot. The Scranton, Pennsylvania driver is amongst those in the middle of the field. Up at the front, no looks for peel-offs yet. Lap 35 coming to close this time by.
Yeah, I'm surprised that, because if Person, well, if he wasn't running it too hard, I'm surprised it came so early. But because, Beller and Buckshot don't seem like they're saving really, and they're making it to 36 right now. So this is definitely very curious. And Beller looking incredibly quick right now, still compared to everybody else. Has been running some really, really fast laps. But look at the speed you see on new tires. Jason Spear last time by 31.6. Bernard Person 31.086. We're seeing a lot of fast laps. Here comes Ripka to pit road. He's going to try to shortcut Beller to possibly jump ahead of him.
That might be a big difference with how things have played out so far. Ripka, who's been on a very big tear when it comes to speed in RGR, comes on in. Eric Whiting also coming in. But getting back to Ripka, he led 123 laps in the truck race for RGR just this past week. Dominating fashion, to say the very least. To the point where 3 of the drivers' responses to him winning was, okay. Simply the emoji that says, okay.
Yeah, no. Here comes Eric Beller following the next time by. Looks like we had a little bit of a trouble there almost for Tony Ratliff. William Gay, of course, comes to pit road. Thomas Wolf still out. So he has made it further than a mini driver. He has made it the furthest, I do believe, here.
He is the only driver yet to pit in this field. So we'll see how far he goes here. Looks like he's going to keep going for at least another lap. This is a major difference potentially, as here comes Spear. And now he can't run the bottom as easy.
Yeah, this is definitely interesting. 40 laps. To make it that far. That's, wow.
Of note, though, that is for the net race lead you see in front of him right now. That is not just Spear, but Person side by side. Spear getting ahead of Person with the cycle. And now Spear able to get ahead of Ripka and everyone else.
Wow. That's definitely very, very interesting to see that he had made it that far. Last time Bado 33.2. I think he's saving. I did some math there. 40. If he's able to make it 42 laps, I do believe there might be a chance he can make that work. He can make that 4-stop work. This could be another gamble to cut out a stop. He's clutching. He is saving.
He's done some math here. He's trying to play the mathematics game here to try and win this race and try to do something to close up some points. He's losing drivers that are now pinched a lap down, essentially. But if he can go another lap or two, you're right, this could change the entire complexion of this race.
Yeah, I did not think anybody was going to pull this out. But, I mean, Wolf has done this before. We've seen it before from this 91. He's always, has something in mind that is outside of the box. He knew he had to do something special. And here he comes to pit road as he gets ready to complete lap 42.
It's going to be very close here in terms of that divide if you go by 4 pit stops. So we'll see if this plays out long term. That's where it's going to be really critical to keep an eye. Where he cycles, how he cycles compared to everyone else who is offset by at least 5 to 10 laps currently. Right now, Jason Spear is in the net lead, about to take the overall lead. Bernard Persson, for the time being, holding on to second as they retake those spots. Ripka's in third. However, Ripka is on 5-lap fresher tires. Greg Ratliff and Eric Beller, he fell all the way back to 5th in the pit stop cycle. That was after having one of the longest pit lane deltas in this race.
And that's unfortunate because I hate to keep harping on this, but that has been the #1 problem for Eric Beller this season. He has been incredibly good on the racetrack. He's been good on the long run. He's been one of the best drivers when it comes to performing on the track. But, you race for show, you pit for dough. If you mess up pit road and you're consistent in doing that, that's what disqualifies you from championships and race wins. And I hate to keep harping on that, but, I mean, Beller has just been really bad on performing on pit road.
And in turn, it's going to take a while for him to try and regroup here. You see the big difference in terms of positions, 4 seconds. It's the next car up. Meanwhile, that lead is compressing. These two are on the same type of tires, basically slightly fresher for Spear. Ripka, he's closing him down quickly. How about 0.3 a lap?
Oh, yeah, he's definitely a lot faster. And this goes to show you what 5 laps tires will do for you. I mean, he's significantly faster. He should be able to get by these guys fairly easy. Greg Ratliff as well, looking very quick. He's up to that 4th place position. Should be second when this is all settled out. He's just as fast as I do believe Ripka is right now. So definitely very good performance right now for the 5. Look at how just costly. I'll go back to Eric Beller. He's 3 seconds back from these guys. My word.
Yeah, he needs to close up some time and quickly, especially since his counterpart that he was up by 0.3 over, it's just made his move for second. Now it's for the lead next up on the docket. Lap 46 underway. And Ripka with that fresher tire difference, it doesn't matter what line he's running. When you have that big of a difference with 5 laps at Kansas, it doesn't matter if you're running the top. You can just drive on by him with the more speed.
Yeah, I know 100%. Buckshot can probably go wherever he wants. And I don't think Spear's going to try to fight him too much. I mean, why would you? But looks like he's going to catch up to him no problem. Last time by, he was a little over 1/10 faster than Jason Spear. And very interesting strategy here from Spear. I'm surprised at Spear, just considering last time we saw Wolf really pull out a strategy like this, Spear was kind of very close on that same strategy. So surprised to see a little bit of a different, method here in mind for the 83.
Now this is for the race lead. Ripka trying to get some clean air around the middle of the racetrack. Quickly building up the run. Here comes Ripka. Just can't seem to line it up yet. He wants clean air and wants the diamond.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious on why he hasn't made this pass a lot quicker. Maybe he's trying to save the tire. Maybe he might even be sitting in Spear's draft to kind of maybe save some gas. Maybe that could be the game here.
Just no way around quite yet. And yeah, he just lifted.
Yeah, I think he's saving fuel because I mean, you see, Ratliff had no problem getting by Bernard Persson, and I think Ratliff might even catch up to Buckshot. I mean, I think this has got something to do with fuel economy. This has also allowed Eric Beller to start to catch up as well. He's going to maybe enter this battle. I think he's got a little bit fresher tires.
where he's waiting for the right opportunity right now. This doesn't seem like it. He's not even able to close up if he goes full throttle with the way things are shaping. Now he goes for it. Spear up top. Ripka to the bottom. And Spear's not backing off easily as there's the side draft back.
Wow. Yeah, I'm surprised that Spear still has the tire to fight off the 52, but it looks like I don't think he's going to fight him off anymore, depending on the run. It looks like, yeah, the 52 of Lance Ripka now up front, back to the lead on lap number 50.
Lance Ripka retakes the lead about midway through the fuel run. You're watching Grid Vision for coverage of the Real Good Racing League and its Top Flight Series. The chase for the Kaiwo Class Cup continues tonight.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Lance Ripka leading here at Kansas. The gap right now, more than 1 second. Given RGR action, Justin Prince, Brian Britt, Austin John Bishar producing here on Grid Vision. Spear right now with the older tires is set to pit potentially with the next 13 to 15 laps. Eric Beller is trying to close down the gap. He's gained a second on Ripka. However, that gap is going back the other way with Ripka in clean space. Greg Ratliff and Bernard Persson are in the top 5. Of note, Thomas Wolfe. He is currently 12.5 seconds back after being the furthest out of anybody to go on fuel, the freshest tires out of anybody. But remember, he's looking to try and stretch out a different type of strategy with how this race is playing out here this evening. So that's something we'll keep an eye on for the end of tonight's race especially.
Oh, yeah, Thomas Wolfe he's big braining this race here tonight, and he's done this before. Of course, RGR always usually about strategies. Definitely, I'd say an analyst's dream here for sure. And Thomas Wolfe definitely driving his way behind Daniel Blau. And we'll see what he's able to do. Of course, he's about 11.9 seconds back from the leader, Buckshot Ripka. He's running actually slower than them, but I think that's because he's saving gas. He's on a different strategy. It's not all about speed here. But Eric Beller has now gotten, I do believe, my Jason Spear is in the midst of doing so, trying to get up to second.
Side by side for that spot, in fact, with how things are going as Beller tries to use the fresher tires to his advantage. Looks like he'll get it. Yes, indeed, as Spear is getting very tight. Beller the same, and Spear is not backing off.
Yeah, crossover maneuver there from Beller, but I don't know if he's going to really be able to make. Oh, well, maybe he gets clear, but no, Beller is going to be able to use that high line to his advantage to possibly get the run down the backstretch. And of course, Buckshot Ripka now out to 2.7 seconds, coming up on 3 seconds if he continues. But he is definitely looking good. I know Ripka probably not going to want to have that same thing happen to him as he did earlier where he hit the wall.
Yeah, right now at the moment, though, he's been pretty dialed in throughout the run since that one mistake. You can just see the clean air. No cars around. Nearest car is a fair bit away in Brian Tiffany. Only one car is a lap down in George Dibble, and that's with Dibble taking the time to get a lot of the repairs done under the green flag pit stop for 34 seconds. Outside of that, it's been pretty smooth sailing yet again. One of the major things throughout the season, green flag runs, that continues tonight. The only times we've had cautions, precautions, or a lot of them I should say, has been at a track distance of under a mile for much of the season.
Yeah, we do have some battling going on right back here. Of course, 10th, 11th, and 12th, I do believe, and 13th possibly. William Gay, Michael Walker, Jamie Bray, Adam Recker, all right here in the midst of one another. Of course, William Gay, I do believe, got a little bit loose off the corner. Walker, of course, been really throwing some major dives into the corner to try to see if he could possibly get clear of Jamie Bray, but Bray has been incredibly difficult to pass.
Yeah, right now William Gay is trying to hold things back, but for Jamie Bray, been solidly liking his speed. He's running 32.8 right now in the midst of traffic, but he's been slowly picking them off one by one as this night has progressed. He is one of the teammates to the Ratliffs, for reference, who are running 4th and 6th. Oh, and more wall contact around them. You hear some more scraping that's going on behind, believe.
Oh, and then right there.
Well,
Ray just got it pretty good out of 4.
Well, it looks like he, in turn, has damage. The hood is popped up. So just like that, the time where you praise somebody continues to work like a charm for Jinxes.
Oh, yeah, always. Anytime you start talking good about somebody, that's when they're going to usually make a mistake. And a lot of times they've even told me, Brian, don't talk about me in the race because you're going to end up messing me up. So Jamie Bray still holding on to it. Hopefully he's going to be okay. It looks like he speed right now is all right. We'll have to see if this affects his longevity. I think that's going to be the thing that we're going to really have to worry about here. But I think we're coming up quickly on another round of green flag pit stops for a lot of this field.
Yes, indeed, we are at the moment. Expecting drivers, for the most part, to start coming in within 5 laps if they were on the undercut. Or now is the better way for Daniel Blau. 32 laps his stint goes this time. So he tries to roll a little bit of a different dice here after sliding back at the end of this run. Lance Ripka, based on the numbers, expect him to go maybe another 10. Oh, and also, we always talk about how Bernard Persson very, very diligent on making sure he never, ever changes his numbers. He just came in.
Yeah. So we'll see what that looks like, how that unfolds as Blau comes off pit road. Very good pit stops for these drivers. Not too shabby at all. Of course, we'll see some more drivers coming in here very soon as well. As Buckshot Ripka still out there on the track, has over a 2-second gap. Eric Beller has been slowly but surely reeling him in. We'll have to see if that continues. Of course, last time by, Buckshot was a little bit quicker. Actually, a little bit, I should say, a 10th faster than Eric Beller.
Yeah, Ripka, for the most part, has been able to keep the advantage at bay outside these last few run moments. Remember, this is around the time where Ripka got very tight for a moment that lost him a lot at the time before. Here comes pit stops for Spear and Ratliff. Greg Ratliff specifically coming in. Thomas Wolf tries on by them both.
Oh yeah, he's not pitting for a little bit now. I mean, he's probably going to try to go to lap 84 or something like that if he could stretch it. But yeah, you see Spear, of course, coming to pit road. He came a little bit later than I think he did last time, so a little bit longer. I think he realizes that the strategy they're currently on, the guys that are on that 32 lap strategy, they got to realize that they're not going to be able to make it on just 5 stops. That's a little bit. So they got to add a couple laps to the rotation here. But still, otherwise, good performances on pit road.
So Ripka currently coming up to 33 laps in. There goes Todd Gilly, by the way. He's currently amongst those on the pit stop strategy that put him at least a lap back. It doesn't look like the greatest of positions, though, once things cycle for him. Michael Walker II just peeled into the 22. He, at the time of the start of the lap, was the last on the lead lap. Here comes the 6 of Tony Ratliff also in. Also coming in with them, on cycle, Eric Whiting. Greg Ratliff is coming again. However, he's got a black flag.
Oh, no.
The 5, who was a contender for the win last time out, he's been penalized. The reason? Remember, the speed limit here is 45 miles an hour. And sometimes it's hard to spot the green cone. He went 49 at pit exit.
Oh, I'm surprised that happened at exit. I thought he probably got it on entry, but didn't. Yeah, that would make more sense because he'd have to come back in and serve it. Because I just know he was kind of aggressive on his entry, following in. I do believe Jason Spear, but definitely seems like he, like you said, didn't know where those cones were, and unfortunately, he's going to pay a hefty toll. He goes all the way to last.
And the funny thing is, that seems to happen a lot at Kansas. I don't know if you've had that problem yourself where you see the cone disappear from your visual and you're thinking, okay, it's good to gas it, After all, there's a little bit of flexibility with the average maybe. And then you're like, oh no, I went half a second too early. That seems to be the case here.
Oh, it's definitely something that I'd say is easy to do. I've never had it plague me before, that's for sure, but I definitely can see how that could be an issue. And it's just an oversight that, is very, very costly, and I'm sure he's kicking himself over that because, I mean, he's had a good season. Greg Ratliff's been one of the faster cars. I'd say he's a top 5 or top 5 speed, maybe not finisher, but top 5 speed every week. And a lot of times when you get these kind of long green races, you were kind of talking about earlier about how RGR is known for how green these races are. Well, that means that there's not any chance, or you can't make mistakes. Like if you make a mistake, you live with it the rest of the race. Like you are not getting out of that. There's nothing that's really gonna to save you. As we see some more green flag stops, here comes Ripka. Ripka to pit road, and I suspect Beller's probably gonna come down probably a lap or so later.
And a good entry for Ripka. He gained a lot of time, by the way, on the last driver in the lead lap. Before that, Brian Tiffany. How about 6 car lengths? Beller. He's right now coming up to 37 laps into the stint this time around. Remember, they were pretty close on the strategy, and it looks like he's sticking to it. To the bottom of the racetrack he goes in a very conservative entry.
Yeah, Eric Beller. We'll see how his performance on pit road looks this time around. I know he's kind of not been so good on pit road, and I think that's just the nail, or the thorn in his foot, I should say, that he really needs to work on for next season. As Thomas Wolf retakes the lead.
There's a look at the 91. He and William Gay yet to pit. Everybody else has made the strategies, and there's the full clutch. Remember, he's only 34 laps in.
Yeah, he's already saving. He's trying to probably make it a little bit further this time. I mean, I know we were talking about the number was probably about 42. Well, he finished lap 42 on pit road. He crossed the start-finish line on pit road to start lap 42. So I think he wants to go just a hair longer this time around, possibly. As here comes a big run from Tony Ratliff. That's one of the bad things about being out here on such older tires and off sequence, is you're going to be a lot different when it comes to the momentum and speed that you're carrying. So that could cause possibly some obstacles for the guys on newer tires. And you know what they say. I mean, a lot of times the most potential for a caution flag is when there's differences in momentum in tires. So watch that. That could be a dangerous thing. We could see an obstacle for those newer tire guys to come through. It's very difficult to predict the differences in momentum when someone's on much older tires than you.
And all this as well. The net lead, by the way, no surprise, Bernard Person over Jason Spear, with them being on those different strategies, albeit just a little bit different on the call. Speaking of which, well, Jason Spear is now in the net race lead. There we go.
Yeah, Person just took a pretty big bite out of that wall just now. That's definitely not good. I'm not sure if that hurt Person's race car or not. I think he might I think he does have some right front damage now. Doesn't look too bad, but I think it's closer to the front. I know I saw some type of crinkles. That doesn't look too bad.
Well, it doesn't look like that much, but for the most part, I think it looks okay. Now, when it's very hard to the point where it's past just the scrapes that eventually, quote-unquote, fade away, that it gets very concerning. By the way, Ripke's already reeled them in. So, right now, the clutch and coast continues for the leader on track. 10 laps led for Wolf.
Well, keep in mind, I mean, Buckshot Ripka had 5-lap newer tires than Spear in Person, essentially, in that last cycle. This time, he's got like 8-lap newer tires, so he is much faster. He's a second faster than these guys. So last time we saw where Spear was able to contend with Ripka, that's not going to be the case this time. I think Spear is just going to drive right on by him. As, of course, you see Wolf still out there. He's now on lap 38, getting ready to start lap 39 of his stint.
By the way, a couple laps away from the halfway mark, and with how things are shaping up, the most laps led bonus point currently is in the hands of Ripka, depending on how things fare out here. And that's the one thing that's going to be the tough thing, too, is even though Wolf is trying to get the win, obviously, trying to do what he can to limit the distance coming to the final race, even when you think about that, that's the toughest part of this situation for him, because what happened last week is if he finished solidly last week in Wilkesboro, we're realistically talking about it could go any way at Phoenix, even with the strategy tonight. Not so easy tonight. Now, by the way, as Wolf tries to paint the bottom still on the strategy and Eric White moves to the outside, tries to push ahead. Here's the thing. With the way things are looking, Ripka might get as high as second here, if not the race win still. That's not as big of a dent, I think, as the 91 may have been hoping for.
No, and I think I even alluded to that a little bit at the beginning of the broadcast, saying that Wolf needed Buckshot Ripka to have a bad day. I'm talking about he needs Ripka to finish probably like outside of the top 10, maybe last. Like he needs Buckshot to have a catastrophic type race, and it just doesn't seem like that's happening right now.
And keep in mind, Ripka's the only driver in the series to get top 10s in every single race, let alone more than 7. That's how consistent the 52's been, even when he's not been winning. On schedule, by the way, the 91 comes in 42 laps once again. And that's right at the halfway point. He needs to make that one more time to be comfortable, it looks like, on his strategy. And hearing that he might have got the extra lap here, but regardless, it is 42 laps.
No, he finished that 42-lap stint on that last run about the same. It was exactly the same, essentially. So he wasn't able to get an extra lap out of it like I think he probably wanted to. But we'll see how that kind of plays out. I mean, it's going to be very, very close at the end, for sure. As we see Eric Beller, of course, trying to take that spot from Jason Spear there for the second position. This time, Eric Beller did much, much better on pit road. 40.6 seconds in the lane, 14.3 seconds in his box. Fantastic performance on pit road. This has actually helped him narrow that gap quite a bit to Buckshot. He was a second faster on pit lane than Buckshot was.
It is a little time on the entry per se, but the speed itself has been pretty solid, although Ripka's been better on short run. Beller's been decent when it comes to the mid run. There's a look at Jason Spear, by the way. Even though he's on essentially near 10 lap older tires, he's been holding out pretty well. He's been maintaining top 5 track position even on the strat all night.
Yeah, no, I definitely can. I got a lot of respect for Jason. I think he's been running fantastically this season. I've seen a lot of growth. I'll say it again. I've just seen a ton of long run potential from this guy. He keeps his head down. He runs very, very well. And I think the main question mark I have is what is the fuel going to look like for him? Like I said, if he is on this strategy, I just don't think he's going to have enough gas to make it for 5 stops. I mean, I think he's going to possibly have to stop again and not have any tires left. I don't know. I mean, maybe if he can add a couple laps to one of these stints, maybe he can make it on 5 stops.
Yeah, and there's so many different questions I think that come to mind for a lot of these drivers with how this could play out tonight. Bernard Persson, he still holds on to 4th, by the way, with all this. Daniel Blau picked up a lot of ground with this undercut call, by the way. He's up to 6th. However, he's also on the oldest tires on the racetrack, has to be the earliest to pit, and already is being reeled in by everybody he's been battling with. Whiting, Walker, Bray, they're closing up.
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting to see all the different strategies kind of unfold. We see drivers come and go out of the top 10 or top 5. I mean, it just changes as this race is going on. It's very fluid. But I'll tell you what's been constant has been either Buckshot Ripka being in the lead or Thomas Wolfe. But Eric Beller, right now, he is, I'd say, closing in quite successfully. As last time by, he was over a 10th faster than the 52, and that pit road performance has really got him into possibly running down Buckshot. Now, how does he do in the dirty air, I think is going to be the key. And does Beller possibly cause Ripka to make another mistake? We saw that when Beller was putting pressure on the 52, that's when he made a mistake.
Here's the thing, though. He's close to getting within the dirty air, within the full effects, within a second or so is where that really kicks in. Right now it's within 1.2, 1.3 seconds. It's easier to catch than it is to pass, after all.
Yeah. 100%. Now you are 100% on the money there. Well, so we'll see if that affects him. And, of course, it will. The closer and closer he gets, the less that car is going to handle. As there is Eric Whiting, a driver we don't talk a whole lot about, looking like he's going to see if he could possibly take 6th away from Daniel Blau. Pretty good run. Pretty decent run here tonight for the 13.
The radio antenna continues to maintain its position, as you see from the rotating bubble cam. The roof camera. For the most part, Whiting, he's actually been very quietly doing well. He's not one of the quicker cars per se right now. He is on some older tires. But with the way things are shaping out here, with all the strategies and the fact that, no offense to Thomas Wolfe, he's about to fall a lap down trying the strategy. He might have a shot if anybody makes a mistake on a top 5 run here.
Oh, yeah. No, I could definitely see that. Whiting, I mean, lap time-wise, he's looking pretty good. I mean, he's right there on the money when it comes to Persson. He's running really good laps. I don't think he's got a chance to win this race unless something catastrophic goes wrong here. But I think he's, like you said, really quietly having probably one of his best runs here tonight. But can't wait to see what exactly that looks like, as, of course, the battle for the lead has closed up even more. We see Greg Ratliff making a pass, I do believe, on Michael Walker. Of course, that was not for position. Greg Ratliff is now 2 laps down as a result of that speeding penalty. But, we did see the gap for the lead closing up, but it has changed now. Eric Beller fell off about a half a second or more just now, as he's having some severe technical issues.
It looks like he's got more wall scrapes and he's got damage. The reason being he hit the wall at a turn 4 And I don't know if it's going to show up as clearly because of that, but can say it looks like the fender, you see it there on the quick zoom by, does have a crumple, so that's going to hurt Beller the rest of the race.
That's probably going to be some great news for Buckshot Ripka. He's probably listening to his spotter or crew and thinking his lucky stars, that's for sure.
There it is.
Oh, yeah.
You see that little dip around that split of the fender?
Oh, yeah.
That's where it is. Air going underneath the hood. That's going to hurt him aerodynamic with the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of that could have been attributed to that dirty air getting worse and worse as he was closing in on Buckshot. It just really changed the handling of the race car, and now he's really changed the handling of the race car with that damage. Last time by, though, he was a tenth faster than Buckshot, but we'll see how this affects the rest of his run. I mean, heck, I hate to say it, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised that a little bit of damage might even help you. You never know with iRacing.
Not a mile and a half per se. I mean,
Yeah,
if it was Bristol, maybe, because that used to be a thing. He was faster that lap. Give him that credit. Remember, Ripka did the same before, but not to where it's visual damage.
Yeah, that's true.
It will slow down that momentum he was picking up, though, in that closing gap that he had prior, though.
Now, this race definitely flying right on by. We're even closing up on quickly lap 100. Just started lap 98 that last time by.
Oh, by the way, it was, for those wondering, yes, that was dead even last time by for Beller. Oh, by the way,
I'm showing a 4-second lap. That's
well,
bad.
I'm showing a 32.629.
Well, sometimes, with technical issues, sometimes the lap times can be sometimes changed. I tell you, if he had a 4-second lap, he should have already passed Ripka.
In the same ballpark pace-wise as the leaders, by the way, is Thomas Wolf. Even in the clutch and coast, that's how big the tire fall-off starting to get. Right now, Wolf is up to around 8th. We talked about him potentially falling a lap down with how things are cycling on these runs. He is nearly 25 seconds behind the leader, but he is in range to make a pass or two. In fact, Daniel Plow is letting by some cars.
I'm telling you, our producer just kind of said that he's running great for clutching, and I'll tell you, he's been so good at doing that. I mean, even that, every time we see him in save mode, he doesn't lose a lot of lap time when he does this technique. So he's very good at it, and I know his I rating is I think a little over 2,000. I don't think it's really that high, but I'll tell you, this guy is fast. He's deceptively good for his I rating, and I don't think that really represents his skill level.
Yeah, he's looked really solid throughout the night and throughout the season. He's continued to improve. Up at the front, Lance Ripka leads with us now in triple digits for laps. Pit window for a majority of the field opening up in a couple laps. By the way, Beller has stopped moving ahead yet again.
Yeah, I'm curious what the damage is going to look like. There goes Blau, right on schedule here to come to pit road. He is, of course, followed by Adam Recker in the 11 machine.
Now, that's off strategy for the 11. That's about 3-4 laps earlier than normal. So it looks like Recker electing to go with the undercut call as Bernard Persson. This is the furthest he's gone all day, 36 laps.
Yeah, and I think this makes sense. I mean, I was saying it earlier. I just thought the strategy that Jason Spear and Bernard Persson were on didn't make a whole lot of sense mathematically. So I think they're adding a couple laps to kind of offset that. As well, we see Todd Gilly, Jamie Bray coming to pit road here.
Also coming in, Spear, and several more following along on the banking. Tony Ratliff.
So a lot of guys coming to pit road right now. And as we get further and further along into this race, we're seeing the distances between these different strategies really increase and increase and increase.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. Eric Beller to pit road. This is really early.
That's a very interesting call here. We've seen how the undercuts have fared out. Maybe trying to play something out of Spears' book?
Or maybe the damage has gotten too great. Maybe who wants to, I don't know. I don't know if this is all. I don't think this is on sequence. I don't think this is to plan. I think that he's just maybe an act of desperation.
Or change of the plan?
Maybe, could be.
And the more laps, mind you, and the more experience you get, the more you're able to figure out in terms of the frequency of the pit stops, maybe the timing. It almost screams with the way how many laps to go is go 32 to 32 almost.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could see maybe he decided, hey, let me split this last run in half. I think that might be what the thought process is here for Beller. I mean, this could be a good call. I mean, I think that's probably true. Let's see, how does Buckshot respond? I think that's going to be the key here. But it looks like he's decided to stay on strategy here. Let's see if he comes by this time as he files onto the backstretch here at Kansas.
Here's a look over to Ripka, by the way. Right now.
Looks like he's staying out again.
Yeah, he's sticking to the plan. Oh, by the way, the reason for the wall scrape, Eric Whiting hit the wall.
And it looks like I do believe Brian Tiffany possibly coming to pit road. Well, no, just slowed down a little bit there and lost a spot there to Tony Ratliff. So,
yep.
Sorry, that was a false alarm.
Still keeping an eye on the leader, though. For the most part, the gap is going back the way of Ripka compared to Wolf. You can just see how much clutch and coast, just based on the interval alone, that the 91's really having to do here. After all, we have about 59 to go at the stripe. It's a call. It's the question, is this going to work out?
Yeah.
You're talking about the leaders going to have a major chance to close up 2 seconds a lap once the pit stop comes into play.
Well, my thing is like the thing about it is Wolf, if this is to work, you know, he's about 22.8 seconds, 22.9 seconds back from Buckshot Ripka. If this is going to work, he can't fall down any more than 40 seconds. If he at least cutting out that stop, if that, you know, that costs 40 seconds or gains you 40 seconds, I should say. So if he on track, if he manages to not lose that much, he's in a good spot, I think. And our, of course, producer is echoing some of what I'm saying. He 10-second lead probably at the finish line, Justin.
By the way, Ripka's in. He hit the wall, however, through 3 and 4, setting up the pit stop, so that cost him a little time. Oh, well, Wolf, he can go a fair bit longer, so give the 91 the overall race lead this time by. The only air driver yet to pit this window yet again is William Gay.
The only bad thing about, you know, winning a race like this, it's not flashy, but I mean, it's smart. It is incredibly smart, but it's not flashy. That's for sure by any means. I mean, he's got the speed any other day of the week to be able to go out here and earn it. Looks like we got Brian Tiffany finally coming to pit road here. As Wolf, of course, back out front. William Gay 5 seconds back from him.
By the way, only 1 DNF so far. That's why George Dibble's down there in the pit lane. He's already been out of the car for the past while. Outside of that, no major troubles for the rest of the field. Also, bad news for George Dibble. I'd like to inform George Dibble his motor is blown. He forgot to turn it off while he parked it on the pit lane. He cannot rejoin even if he wants to.
One interesting thing here, Eric Beller. We talked about him with his unique strategy. Of course, kind of a change of plan is kind of what we characterize it as. He is now quite a bit of ways out in front of Buckshot Ripka. I do believe about 5 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. So this is working for Eric. I mean, that short pit, equaled a lot of track position, a lot of ground he made up on Buckshot. Or over Buckshot, I should say.
Yeah, but expect that to swing the other way here pretty soon. It's already 5 seconds with Ripka quickly passing by Spear, who is on the same strategy here. But again, I'm not surprised Beller tried it.
No.
Because it gets him some position on the racetrack, and wouldn't be surprised if Ripka tries an undercut to close out the race.
Yeah.
Let's take a break for the time being, though. Right now, closing in towards the finish, coming up to 50 to go. It's Wolf in the lead, Beller, Ripka, Spear, and Tony Ratliff. Your top 5 here on Grid Vision.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Grid Vision for more coverage of RGR, where it's Wolf in the lead. The gap, only 5 seconds, but Thomas Wolf still needs to make a pit stop and is still trying to save the gas here. Justin Prince, Brian Britt with you. Currently, Eric Beller has the net lead by only 2 seconds. Ripka is mowing that down and then some. By how much? 7/10 last time by alone.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Eric Beller, very, very off the pace right now compared to Ripka, of course. Looking at the damage on that race car, and, well, if iRacing will collaborate with us, or cooperate, I should say. You can see, yeah, definitely a little crack there as well on the fender. As Adam Wrecker into the wall right there near Thomas Wolf.
Oh, and Beller in the wall, too. You just seen that with Beller, and now Beller in the wall even more so. Now he hits the wall again. Now Beller's stuck in the wall. Now that fender definitely is destroyed. Eric Beller has outright demolished the right side of his race car.
That is unfortunate, to say the least. Look at that. Just scraped all up on the right side. I really thought we were getting ready to see a caution there as a result of this, but I'm sure Eric Beller none too happy with that wall. That wall and him are not very good friends right now here in Kansas.
Let's take a look at the replay. So many mistakes in one sequence.
That was a big opportunity for a caution right there, and that would have changed a lot about the outlook of this race.
So in turn, Beller losing the net lead and already 4+ seconds to Ripka. So the lead race is down to essentially Wolf and Ripka. Ripka's already trying to run the bottom with some of the traffic around him. He's already within a 1.5 seconds of the 91, who continues to maintain the bottom of the racetrack. Adam Recker is the one wedge between the two of them for the time being. 45 laps to go at the stripe.
Yeah, and I think Wolf's going to go probably another 3 laps now. So that's going to make it very close for him. He is just going to barely make it across the start-finish line, I think, at the end of this race. And he is not going to probably have enough gas to do a burnout, to be honest with you, as Ripka closes in, now 8/10 back. This is not even going to be a battle. Not at all. Ripka's going to just drive right on by the 91 of Wolf. But I think Ripka knows. He's probably done the math as well. He's like, oh, I need something to change here. But then again, like you even alluded to earlier, Justin, even if Ripka doesn't win this race, he still gets enough points, I think, to, in a lot of ways, disqualify or give a astronomically less chance to Wolf to win next week, to win the championship. This is going to be almost impossible for Wolf if Ripka finishes in second. He needs Ripka to literally wreck right now.
Well, he didn't wreck right now. Ripka, if anything, takes the lead back, and with 70 laps led, and with how things have played for the rest of the leaders, very likely Wolf at this point gets the bonus point for most laps led. So for the most part, it'd only be like a 4-point gain, if that, for Thomas Wolf, if he does pull out a win here.
Yeah, and that's nowhere near enough. I mean, we talked about it before. I think coming into this race, he had 32 points. I think separated the Buckshot Ripka and him. And if Ripka even has a decent race at Phoenix, he wins the championship.
Exactly. Mr. Consistency up at the front. Wolf still trying to get forward. After all, he's already went the farthest he's needed to go all race. In fact, he just went an extra lap for the first time all run. He just pulled out.
Yeah, 100%. 43, I do believe he's going to now. Here he comes to pit road.
And it looks like he might be just about out of the gas, in fact. Able to get to the speed limit, and I have to let it roll down the pit lane here. So now it gets very interesting, because we've seen where he was relative for his pit stop. He's going to be about a full lap behind. He hasn't pushed all race, and he is still in needing to save mode, technically.
Yeah, I don't think he'll need to save quite as much, because he could 40 laps to go. I mean, he doesn't have to go to 42 this time. He could just go to 40, so he doesn't have to save quite as much. But still, he is going to have to save somewhat. But let's see where he exits at. Of course, he is now a lap down. This is the first time I think we've seen him really a lap down in this race. Or what should I say? We'll see where. I'd be curious to see where he is when Buckshot comes down pit road. That's going to be the tell as well. Look at very, very good performance on pit road. 40 seconds from one end of the pit lane to the other. 13.5 seconds in the box. That's a really good performance on pit road. I don't know about that.
Near perfect when it came to the box. The quickest pit stop in the stint, 13.9 seconds, I should say. But right now, 9 seconds is the gap for the time being. Right now, it's Ripka, Beller, Spear. Keep in mind, Spear and Beller on the same strat. Tony Ratliff, Bernard Person. And for Jason Spear, another solid night. If Jason Spear started out this way too with his consistency, we might be talking about him maybe being in the conversation following the battle instead tonight. Right now, with the way things are shaking out, mathematically would be, at best, third in the points.
No, he has had a great season. A lot to build on, I think, for next season. I think that's what the goal here was for Spear Motorsports in general. I mean, and a good day for Bernard Persson as well. He's really improved by leaps and bounds when it comes to his long run performances. There goes Spear. I do believe getting by Eric Beller, takes over second place. Going to be a really good points day for Spear if he finishes right here.
Meanwhile, Beller, that car has fallen apart. 30-34 last time by.
Wow.
He is trying to hobble that car to the finish, and he's coming in. He's coming in.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the final stop, and this is early. This is actually much earlier than I think he probably wanted to come down. I think he wanted to split this run in half, and I think this is a little bit sooner than he had planned. But, of course, I'm sure he didn't plan to hit the wall either.
So Beller in turn falls a lap down. With the pace so far from Ripka, he's lapped most of the field on raw pace. The only drivers not laps down, Spear, Tony Ratliff, Bernard Persson, Daniel Blau. What a night so far for Ripka. 79 laps led. He's been difficult to keep up with when he's been just so glued to this racetrack.
No, he definitely seems like he prepared quite a bit. And what a great second half to this season. I thought, the first two races of this season, I've talked about it before, but, Zach Roethlisberger, I do believe it was, won twice in a row. Here comes, I do believe, Jason Spear to pit road for the final time. But Zach Roethlisberger won the first two races of the season, and Buckshot finished second in both of them, and just hasn't really been able to get a bunch of wins, really, like Thomas Wolfe and other drivers have been able to do. But Buckshot has been consistent, and he has had a fantastic second half to this championship hunt. But he's been consistent all season. And I think that's what's led to him being, in this championship seat right now, or possibility of really getting a championship. Considering as well, he is the reigning champion from last season. So really, to get back-to-back season championships, if he continues on the track that he's on right now, would be extremely impressive. I mean, last season it was in the next gen, and this is a completely different car, the Xfinity. So it really shows he's just an all-around great driver.
Oh, by the way, the whole field's a lap down because Bernard Persson just pit. Eric Whiting as well, so the unstoppable force of the 52 continues. The window is open for final pit stops for the rest of the field.
And you even mentioned it earlier about him winning or dominating in the truck series for the RGR as well. So, I mean, this guy, he can win in the NASCAR Cup car. He can win in the NASCAR Xfinity and the truck. So, really just a plug-and-play type driver.
Yeah, very well suited when it comes to his driving style here in RGR in terms of speed, in terms of how he's been, in terms of consistency, in terms of how he's raced clean with all the competitors too. It's been a good year, to say the least.
Oh, yeah. It's been a great year for racing. Go ahead, Dustin. Sorry.
I was about to say, Beller is still in the pit lane getting the repairs done. And from what I can hear on the radio, he accidentally might have talked on the radio. Strategy is something everybody's talking about within the drivers amongst themselves here with what Thomas Wolfe's done. Here's the thing. Thomas Wolfe, despite everything, is still a lap and about a third behind Ripka.
Yeah, of course, Ripka does have to come to pit road here. And we talked about that 40-second number. That's the key. When Ripka comes down pit road, he's going to have to spend 40 seconds in his coming from one end of pit road to the other. And that's going to be the figure that is going to help out Wolfe. If Wolfe can jump in front of Ripka here towards the end, then he'll have it. But Just really depends, I'd say. I mean, it's definitely interesting that I think Wolf has turned the strategy game here in this series on its head. I think a lot of drivers next season are really going to be having their notebook out, watching back some of these races and seeing what he was doing and trying to figure out how to emulate it.
Here's one thing of note. Eric Beller is back in the race. He didn't necessarily park it, but he did take about 6 laps to repair the car.
Here comes Ripka.
And you said it yourself, Ripka's in. Pit window for him coming to a close. About 31 laps to run. William Gay also coming in.
Yep. Buckshot Ripka going to have, I do believe, 27 laps to really run as hard as he needs to. I think that's the kind of the plan here, is to really run incredibly hard. Of course, let's see. Does Wolf take the lead? And I think the question is yes. Or the answer, I should say, is yes. He's now about 10 seconds up to Ripka. He's coming up onto the front stretch, and he is going to pass him. Now, Ripka is going to have incredibly new tires. Can he get off in time to be able to run down Wolf? He's got time. I think he might be able to.
Keep an eye on Airville what settles out here. The estimate was about 10 seconds. Does that ring true here for the start of this window at least? It looks like it's more so about 7 or 8 seconds. That's still a lot of time left on the board, though, to close up this gap, especially with Wolf still in fuel save mode.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, Buckshot can go as hard as he needs to. I mean, I think that's kind of the game plan for the 52. Now, of course, the 52 does have traffic to contend with. You see Eric Whiting right there in front of him. Whiting's not slow right now, and also Whiting is, I do believe, battling with lap traffic of his own, being Greg Ratliff. So this is not exactly simple at all. You know, black and white, I should say. But it looks like I think Ripka has gotten by Greg Ratliff. 25 laps to go. Is that enough time? Look at the lap time difference. About 8 tenths.
Yeah, that's more than enough time. He is getting some space from Eric Whiting. He's the first car a lap down. And that actually helps him a lot to gain at least 3 tenths on corner exit alone. Now, the major difference is Wolf as well, on top being on the older tires on the fuel strat, also has Eric Beller on fresh tires ready to pounce. So it's not just one closing in, you also have lots of the air traffic about to converge on top of it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I just wonder if Beller is going to be a factor. Is he going to hinder Buckshot Ripka at all, or Wolf? I don't think he will. As you can see, look at the lap time difference. Buckshot 31.082, one of his fastest laps he has turned this race so far. He was over a second faster and has closed in a lot. I mean, he came out with like 6 or 7 seconds on Wolf. He has closed that down to now 3 seconds.
Yeah, they is running right now. Wolf is running out of time to try and defend at this point. Remember, the max points night a driver can get in the series with the bonus points, 7. So essentially, you have the chance, or rather 8 should say. So 51 is the max. If depending on how things fare out, that would make it about a 39-point difference between Ripka and Wolf if Ripka does make the pass here. And it looks like he's ready to do it.
No, he's going to do it quicker than I think we realize. I mean, he is running so much faster than Wolf right now. He's going to probably pass him this next lap, just considering, I mean, lap time-wise, he was a second and a half faster. I mean, he's now 6 tenths. He's running him down. Wolf, there's nothing I don't think he could do about this. And, I mean, I admire Wolf so much to see that he was willing to make such a bold decision, and I really thought it was going to work, but I just think that Ripka has shown an incredible amount of pace here tonight, and it is, you know, it's gone his way. I think he chose the right strategy. even though on paper, Wolf's strategy looked to be better.
But the pace has always been there tonight when it comes to Ripke's car, outside of a couple of the love taps. Wolf, he sacrificed a lot of time at the start of the race, about 5-6 seconds. And we talked about it at the start, before the fuel strategy really came into play here and became the card showcased, essentially. That seemed to be where the short and mid run was much better than the long-term benefit of the bottom.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. I mean, I'm surprised. I thought the bottom was going to be the place to be when it came to saving tire, but it just turned out that not to be the case. I feel like Kansas is definitely proved to be a little bit of a different story. It's been a fun one to watch, though, for sure. And, of course, for the last mile-and-a-half race, I mean, these races have all been about strategy, you know, the entire time we've been watching during this season. So, of course, next week at Phoenix, Ripke's just got to pretty much have a decent finish. I think he's going to be relatively stress-free next week. And it's going to be a shorter race as well, 156 laps at that track. But then again, I mean, we've been to short track races in this series, and they've presented a little bit more cautions than the zero cautions we've seen on these mile-and-a-halves. You don't see that very often in leagues.
Yeah. Especially a vast majority of the season when it comes to the mile-and-a-halves, to say the very least.
Yeah, I mean, it just speaks to, I'd say, the respect that a lot of these drivers have for each other. And, you know, you love to see it. You know, glad that these guys can put on such a good show and stay green at the same time. Can't wait to see what next season looks like.
Yeah, next.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we was going to say, we talked about what the expectations were for next season for the various race lengths, expecting it to be similar to this season in terms of the lengths and the fuel mileage. And in turn, we've seen a lot of the talent build up with lots of different drivers testing the waters. I'm very curious how next season plays out, not just in terms of the racing, but in terms of who else looks the challenge for the crown.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the interesting thing because, I mean, considering these guys have now got their selves on grid vision, you know, they've probably, I mean, they've attracted some new blood, some new talent. I mean, you got people like Chad McGinley that have you know, thrown his hat into the ring. We saw him last week, I do believe, at North Wilkesboro. You know, had a pretty good run. Definitely showed that he could run with these guys. I mean, I would be surprised to see we would see some more, you know, new drivers, new talent show up here as we see some battling going on back here. I do believe that's Michael Walker fighting with William Gay. Of course, that's for that 7th place position.
Coming up to the final 10 laps or so, already 13 and a half laps to go. Here's Thomas Wolf. This is not for position behind. Right now, likely gets at least the top 3 because Spear and Tony Ratliff are on older tires, not as old compared to Wolf, but aren't closing in. Now, having a battle behind for 7th isn't going to make it easier for yourself, though, because what do? You're on much older tires compared to them, and they both want to go at the same time.
And this also, if something goes wrong in this battle, let's say, and it very well could. I mean, these guys are battling pretty hard. That could be a little beacon of hope for the 91. You know, if he can get a caution, throw a new set of tires on that race car, he's back in business. But, of course, he could also be involved in that crash, and that would be worst case. The best case is he'd get a caution and be able to fight back. As you see, William Gay, of course, pressuring the 91.
Got a little bit close to contact. Both of them one at the bottom this time. I don't know how much longer Gay's going to give the brakes here. He wants the inside, but Thomas Wolf needs to run inside for the fuel. He can't just run top here.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's definitely true. So this definitely could be a little bit of a powder keg scenario here. As well as I do believe Daniel Blau has just gone a lap down. So that leaves 5 drivers on the lead lap at the moment. As we're now coming up to 10 laps to go.
Blau already falling at risk of losing a lap. In fact, he has lost the lap the past time by. So we're down to the final 10 laps. Blau, one of his better runs in 6th. Eric Whiting, who was in that spot before, dropping to 9th as this final run's progressed, by the way. Also of note, Tony Ratliff in the top 4. Bernard Person, consistent throughout the night, in line for his 3rd top 5 of the season, his first since Kentucky.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I mean, Spear Motorsports has really done a fantastic job this season and really riding the ship, especially with Bernard Person. He's learned a lot. He's been incredibly good on the short run, but I think he's got the whole package now. I really like what I'm seeing from him here at Kansas. I really like what I saw from him last week at North Wilkesboro. He, of course, is in the midst of a fight himself. Of course, this is not for position. I do believe that is Brian Tiffany. As, of course, Buckshot Ripka now in another zip code. Almost 10 seconds. Isn't that something? Our producer had said, I think the lead's going to be 10 seconds for Thomas Wolfe. And look at that. It turned out to be 10 seconds for Buckshot Ripka.
Yeah, absolutely flying. And at this point, Wolfe about to have to play some defense on Spear to close out the race. It's worth noting that we have a second DNF. Eric Beller is officially out of the race. He apparently parked it to the side to congratulate Lance Ripka on the win tonight with about 20 to go.
Yeah, I'm sure he's probably just done with the night. I mean, he had a chance to win this race, I'd say. But, just that hit with the wall cost him quite a bit. He cleaned up his act, I'd say, on pit road, but unfortunately still made a mistake on the racetrack. That's something that, that 4 team has been so impressive. But they have got to work on those little mistakes. I mean, I feel like they are a race. Of course, they're race winners. We've seen it already. They've won races before. But they have to work on their consistency and really not making mistakes. And I think Eric probably knows that. I mean, I'm beating a dead horse here. I think he probably knows that. He knows he's got to get to work on that, and I'm sure he will next season.
Down to the final 5 laps, Ripka just moments away from picking up the dub. With how things have gone, Ripka has been on a rail. Looking at his 3rd victory of the season. The last time he won was, last time out at North Wilkesboro, looking for back-to-back wins and his 2nd win of the season on a 1.5 miles.
Yeah, I mean, he's in another zip code right now. He's taking care of business here. Over now 10 seconds as you mentioned, Jason Spear closing in on Thomas Wolfe. I think Wolfe might be able to hold him off. Of course, we got to keep in mind the fuel as well as Tony Ratliff. What a great performance for the 6. Got to really give him a lot of credit here tonight for being up in here in 4th place. I mean, I kind of think Greg has been the faster of the 2 Ratliffs, but Tony has been more consistent, which consistency a lot of times better. I mean, the tortoise versus the hare? I mean, the tortoise wins because he's consistent, right?
Absolutely. Well, having the mix of tortoise and hare capabilities, being fast but consistent and smart.
Yeah. But here we go. 2 laps to go.
Ripka already looking to close things out here. Coming to the white flag next time by. Wolfe Likely not going to be caught unless there's a mistake by Spear with how things are looking. But as Ripka makes his way through 3 and 4, he looks to see the white flag this time by green to checkered all throughout the night. Absolute domination. He looks to close it out for another mile and a half. White flag is out.
Yep, Buckshot Ripka. Fantastic performance from the 52. As he has enough gap to wave to the fans, almost 11 seconds on the second place driver of Thomas Wolfe. He fouls down the backstretch.
For the third time this season and for the second straight week, Buckshot Ripka makes his way through 3 and 4. The 52 takes it home. Lance Ripka grows the gap and wins the race at Kansas and RGR.
Yeah, what an excellent performance from Buckshot Ripka. I got to say, I thought Wolf had it on the strategy, but Buckshot, with just pure pace and strategy, all those things together, came out here and put together a fantastic race here at Kansas. You know he's going to be celebrating this one, but I think the one he's going to be celebrating most of all is going to be next week at Phoenix. This puts him in prime position to hoist the championship trophy for the second year in a row, or for second season, I should say.
So Ripka parks it at the start and finish line with 108 laps led. Absolute domination for Buckshot tonight. He burns it on down, and this grows the gap to potentially untouchable levels. All but 5 falling laps down tonight. Ripka, Wolf, Spear, Tony Ratliff, Bernard Person in the top 5. Blau, Gay, Walker the second, Bray, and Whiting your top 10.
Toadman Gilly, of course, finishes 11th. Tiffany 12th. Wrecker 13th. Ratliff, Greg, of course, 14th. Beller 15th. And Dibble rounds out this 16-car field.
That's what time to met tonight's running order. Let's take a break. When we come back, post-race coverage. You're watching Grid Vision for RGR. Welcome back to tonight's post-race coverage for the Real Good Racing League and its Cup Series, brought to you by Kyle Glass, Justin Prince, Brian Brett, Austin Jarby Shaw producing. Let's talk with your top 3. And once again, it's Jason Spear who comes away with a top 3 run. It's back-to-back top 3s. And for you, Jason, I'd like to put you in a comfortable spot for third in the championship. First things first, talk us through tonight.
Well, we practiced last night. And thank God we did. It took every bit of practice to figure out what was going on out here. We run several fuel runs, and I was trying to stay focused through the run and try not to lose my focus, because I was hoping to try to gain some ground on Tony and possibly catch Thomas as well. And but for some reason or another, Tony was able to gain on me a little bit. Every pit stop, I'd beat him off the pits, but he would catch back up to me. So just a lot of hard work and concentration tonight, running up against the wall.
But in turn, you mentioned doing multiple fuel runs in terms of practice and testing. What was the decision making to go with the strategy you were part of the undercut strategy much of the night?
Yeah, I just kind of did the math on the fuel stop, and I'll go back and watch the broadcast and just see how bad it affect me. But I was thinking that, I'll just do the math and keep it at 33s, 34s, and keep my tires fresh is what I was looking at. I don't know if that made it worse, or maybe I should have stayed out longer. It's just something I have to go back and watch.
Well, with that being said, still one more race to go this season. Phoenix Raceway on the docket December the 7th. How do you feel about short tracks at Phoenix? Rather, the short track at Phoenix Raceway.
I feel good about Phoenix. I like Phoenix. Usually do pretty good there. Tire management, and it's short track. Seem like I've been doing fairly good at the short tracks here lately, so I feel pretty good about it. I'm looking forward to it, and finish off a good season with these guys.
Well, congratulations on the run tonight. Any shout outs you like to give?
Man, you guys, I went back and watched the race last week, just a couple days ago, and I hope and pray we get to keep you guys on board. You're top notch and a ball to listen to. You know what you're doing up there. So thanks to you guys. Thanks to the league, Tony, and Todd, everybody that puts it on for us to be able to run here. It's a top notch group, and just a pleasure to be able to run with these guys and to finish in the top 5. I'm pretty satisfied with that. And also hats off to my partner Bernie for holding in there. I know it was probably a tough track for him to get through. Last week he didn't feel good. This week he don't feel good, but he was able to finish it all, so I'm pretty proud of him for sticking it out.
Well, congratulations once again on the top 3.
Thank you guys. Take care.
That's Jason Spear cut away in 3rd spot tonight. 2nd spot went to Thomas Wolf. He's with Brian.
Thomas, man, I mean, I gotta say, on paper, I thought you were going to be the winner. I think all of us thought it, pretty much. I don't know. I'm speaking for myself and Austin Derbyshire, our producer. I know he said it. I don't know what Justin thought, but I think we all pretty much had it in our minds that you were going to get the dub here tonight. Your strategy seemed to be flawless. What went wrong? I mean, what was on paper? It seemed like it was going to work.
Yeah, I don't know. I told the guys that my plan was bulletproof, but not buckshot proof. But and I wasn't taking the last 50 laps to come up with that either. That was just on the spot. No, I don't know. I mean, like he was just running too fast, I think, and when he passed me before I went in for my last pit stop, I kind of knew that my little sign shirt project had failed. But yeah, no, just credit to Lance. I don't think it was on my side. I think Lance just drove the crap out of that thing and was able to win.
He definitely, was on a rail here tonight. That's for sure. I think we can all attest to that. But Thomas, I mean, I think a lot of this, your I say desperation tonight probably rests on last week in North Wilkesboro. I know we didn't get really to talk to you. How much? What did that do to your kind of emotions or your morale here tonight?
Well, I will say I didn't get as much practice with this track, just with the holidays and all that, and excuses. But I didn't feel like I had the pace here tonight, so I thought I would try to throw something together. But yeah, the last couple of weeks have been I just had a couple of bad breaks, but that's gonna happen after you've been driving well for a while and been having the luck go your way. It's only a matter of time until that black cloud comes back around. But yeah, no, I mean, credit to Lance for being consistent all season. I think that's honestly it's what it takes to win a championship. So any accolade he gets, I think he fully deserves that.
Yeah, I definitely can echo that sentiment. I think he definitely deserves it for sure. But I think you. If one race had went differently for you, you could have been a championship contender. And I think you still, I mean, if something goes incredibly wrong for Buckshot, you still could possibly be in this thing. What is the thought process going into Phoenix next week?
I just gotta hope that he has some bad storms in his area. I don't know. maybe a squirrel chews on his internet line, something like that. But no, I'm just gonna go out to Phoenix and have a good time, race the best I can. It's a fun track, racy track. So yeah, I mean, I like winning. So every time I drive out there, I'm trying to win. It won't be any different next week.
All right, we definitely look forward to it. Thomas, been watching your season with great interest, that's for sure. Who can we shout out after this second place finish?
Just shout out to the guys who made it out. I know it was a long holiday week and probably a lot of traveling. So shout out to all the guys who made it out tonight. And just shout out to the league and you guys for covering our races. And yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Thomas. Congratulations on the second place finish, and we'll see you next week at Phoenix.
Yep. Thanks, Brian.
Once again, that goes to Thomas Wolf for second spot. Lance Repka goes to the race win tonight into victory lane. Lance, as Thomas Wolf said, his strategy he felt was bulletproof but not buckshot proof. How would you describe your pace tonight?
I was good enough. I hit my pit stops pretty good, and I think I just made the least amount of mistakes. Eric and Greg, they had fast cars, and I think they would have been right up there hunting the front with me if they hadn't had their bad luck.
But in turn tonight, also a big race for the championship because you picked up basically a max points day with the 51 points. The gap is 40 points now. In turn, you've been the model of consistency. So now it's the question, you mentioned being the previous champion, or the defending champion with this. How are you feeling knowing you basically just need a start for the race at Phoenix next week?
Well, it definitely takes a big load off the shoulders. You can just go out, race, have a good time. No stress. Where you finish is where you finish, and with this group of guys, any given day, any one of these guys could be up front. I just been so fortunate to be consistently up there and put myself in this position. But yeah, I guess it'll be, I'll be able to race relaxed.
That leads to the question, how do you approach the finale? You mentioned being relaxed for the finale, but I mean like in terms of the race of itself. After all, it's not only just the championship looking to clinch up, but also looking to clinch up top 10s in every race this season.
Well, of course, we're going to prepare. We're going to try to give ourselves the best chance we can at winning. Nobody comes to the racetrack and doesn't want to win. So, we're going to put our best foot forward. Definitely put some work in and try to win the last one.
Any shout-outs you like to give before you let you get going?
I want to give the boys at Spartan Racing a shout. Good run to Daniel Blau tonight, finishing, I think, 6th. VMR Wraps, Ripka Designs, Kailua Glass for sponsoring this league. Thank you guys for putting on such a great show, and then thanks everybody in the background that makes this series go.
Well, congrats on the run once again tonight.
Thank you, sir.
It's Lance Repka who picks up the victory tonight. It's his 3rd of the season. Like to thank him and the rest of the top 3 for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on Grid Vision. So on that note here, Brian, your final thoughts on tonight, the penultimate race, essentially setting things up in prime position for Repka to get the championship. All he has to do is start, unless we get about 40 starters at Phoenix.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting to see how that all plays out. But I mean, just kind of talk about the race tonight. I mean, it was just really a great one. I think for the last mile and a half, I think we ended it on a high note. We've been green for every single mile and a half. I think we've had. I don't know if we might have had one caution, but I'll tell you what, they have been few and far between, and these races have been so entertaining, in my opinion, to see how they're all going to turn out. They're like a slow burn. You don't know what you're going to have at the end. I mean, once I noticed the strategy that Thomas Wolf had, I was completely gung-ho that, he's going to win this race. But then it didn't turn out that way, and it's just always hard to predict. And I think that just makes these races entertaining, and I'm excited to see where this league goes in the future.
And in turn, I'd like to remind you what's coming up for the rest of the week and entering the new week should be the better of racing. In turn, Grid Vision Super Speedways is on Monday. You can catch that at Daytona at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Then on Tuesday, it's Champion. That starts at 9 p.m. as well from Iowa Speedway. Then on Thursday, it's some interesting action for the SSRL Truck Series. They're at Chicagoland. Who gets it done in Chicagoland? We'll find out 9 p.m. Thursday. And on Sunday, it's RGR and its finale for the season at 9 p.m. Eastern Time from Phoenix. Be sure to tune in. And oh, by the way, we are booking for Eastern and Pacific time slots for the upcoming iRacing seasons. On that note, though, it's time to say goodbye. For my co-announcer once again tonight, Brian Brett, for our producer and Austin Darbyshire, I'm Justin Brett saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching the penultimate race of the RGR Cup Series campaign, brought to you by Kaibu Glass from iRacing's virtual Kansas Speedway. Once again, congratulations to your winner, Lance Repka. He gets the job done here in Kansas City.